Hello guys, in this lesson we're going to be looking at the course format for this B2 First, that's FCE, First Certificate, Listening Paper Video course. So this is a quick overview of the exam format. There are 4 papers in the FCE exam. Although this first paper is really like 2 sections that they've combined, because there's reading and then there's use of English. Use of English is like grammar. They've put them together into one paper, but really it's 2 different sections. And then we have the listening, the writing, and the speaking. But as you can see, the listening paper counts for 20%, because if we think of it as 5 sections, they all have equal markings, so 20% each. And you can pause this video now and have a read of this in more detail, but we are going to move on and look in more detail at the listening paper. So, how long is the listening paper in total? It lasts for 40 minutes. And how many parts are there? There are 4 parts. And how many questions are there? There are 30 questions in total. Part 1 of the listening paper is a multiple choice task, and you have 3 options for every question. And remember, there are 8 questions in part 1, and you get given 1 mark for every correct question. Part 2 is sentence completion. You have a passage with some gaps, and you need to put words into these gaps. There are 10 questions, and again, for every correct question you answer, you get 1 mark. So there are 10 questions, and there are 10 marks. Part 3 is called multiple matching. This is a bit more complicated. You have to match some speakers to some sentences. And we're going to look at these in more detail in the following lessons. Remember, this is just a quick overview. So if you're confused, don't worry. We will look in more detail in the next lessons. This has 5 questions in part 3, and there's 1 mark for every correct question. And finally, part 4 is another multiple choice. Again, you have 3 options. This time there are only 7 questions, and you get 1 mark for each correct question again. So, part 1, multiple choice. How many questions are there in part 1? There are 8 questions. How many texts do you need to listen to? How many passages? 8 different passages. 8 different conversations, for example. Or 8 different speakers at least. You have 3 options to choose from. And before the listening begins, you don't have any time to read through the questions. So you have to be very quick, and as soon as you open the exam paper, more or less the listening will start, and you don't have time to read through before. And this is a quote from the Handbook for Teachers for the first, and it says, for this part of the test, you need to listen to gist, which means general meaning, as well as detail, function, purpose, attitude, opinion, genre, agreement, etc. So a lot of different types of things you need to listen for. And in the next few lessons, we will be focusing on these aspects in my tips and techniques. And it also says that each of these 8 questions are not related to each other. Part 2, sentence completion. How many questions? There are 10 questions, but you only have one passage to listen to this time, and you don't have any options to choose from. How many words can you write in each gap? Between 1 and 3 words. So you need to write 1 word minimum, 3 words maximum. And before this listening begins, you have 45 seconds to read through the passage before the listening begins. And it says, again, here's another quote from the Handbook for Teachers. This part tests candidates' ability to listen and locate specific information, stated opinion, people's opinions, and the listening could be broadcasts, so maybe a news bulletin, for example, something on the news, could be a talk or a presentation. Part 3. There are 5 questions. And you listen to 5 different, well, at least 5 different speakers, but 5 different texts or passages. You have 8 options to choose from in total. So you have 5 questions and 8 options. So there are 3 options which you do not need. And you have 30 seconds to read through these questions before the listening begins. And again, this is from the FCE Handbook for Teachers. It says the focus is on the skill of listening for general gist, so general meaning, detail, attitude, opinion, etc. So listening to how people are feeling, what they think about things, listening for detail, listening for general meaning. And part 4 is another multiple choice. There are 7 questions. You only listen to one text. So in the part 1 multiple choice, there are 8 different passages. In part 4 multiple choice, there is only 1. Again, you can choose from 3 different options for your answers, A, B, and C. And you have 60 seconds to read through the questions before the passage begins. And I will tell you good tips and techniques of what to do in this time before the listening begins, because you should really be using this time in an effective way, and I will show you how to do that in the next few lessons. This is from the FCE Handbook for Teachers. It says in part 4, the focus is on testing the candidate's ability to listen for opinion, attitude, gist, main idea, and specific information. So you need to listen in most of these parts for general meanings and specific meanings, and people's opinions and attitudes are also very important. What do people think about certain things? Here's a very quick tip for you. Always write an answer. You don't lose marks for writing an incorrect answer. You can only gain marks. So write an answer. It's better than writing nothing. And in the next lesson, we're going to be focusing in more detail on part 1. That's the multiple choice. So I'll see you in the next lesson, guys, and thanks for watching this video.